There is a list of 43 names. Goddesses, mortal women and men, all taken, transformed, punished, or destroyed by the same individual, not in battle. Personally, the individual responsible controlled every court, every judge, and every consequence in the known universe. His cult had temples in every city-state in Greece. The Greeks called him Zeus. Zeus did not choose his first crime, he inherited the template. His father, Cronus, ruled the Titans by a logic of pure self-preservation. A prophecy told him his son would overthrow him, as he had overthrown his own father Uranos before him. Cronus's response was not negotiation, it was consumption. Each time Rhea bore a child, Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon, Cronus swallowed them. They survived inside him, they did not cease to exist, but they ceased to matter. Rhea did not accept this for the sixth child. She gave Cronus a stone wrapped in cloth. She hid Zeus in a cave on Crete and handed the stone to a husband who did not check what he was swallowing. Zeus was raised without family, without the Olympian court that would later worship him, without any framework of authority other than the one he would build himself. When he returned, by deceiving Cronus into drinking an emetic, by fighting a 10-year war called the Titanomachy that ended with the old order sealed underground, the Greeks presented this as liberation. Zeus freed his siblings. He distributed the domains of the world among them. He took the sky. The first thing he did with his power was marry Metis. The first thing he did after marrying Metis was swallow her. A prophecy told him their child would surpass him. Zeus's response was not negotiation. He consumed her exactly as his father had consumed him, except that Zeus had lived in his father's stomach and Metis was absorbed entirely into his body. He had been in power for less than a generation when he repeated the defining act of the regime he had just destroyed. The word is consistently applied to actions where the other party could not meaningfully agree. A Trojan prince kidnapped to Olympus, a river nymph turned into a cow and hunted across the earth, a mortal woman killed when her request to see Zeus in his divine form was granted. The list compiled from Hesiod, Homer, Pindar, and Apollodorus reaches 43 incidents. This is not counting the outcomes, the children, the transformations, the punishments inflicted on third parties because Zeus wanted to act without witnesses or consequences. Io was a priestess of Hera. Zeus wanted her. He turned her into a cow so Hera would not recognize her, then arranged for a monster with 100 eyes to follow her across continents to prevent Hera from returning her to her previous form. The cow is Io. The transformation is not metaphorical. The geography of the myth places her flight from Egypt to the Caucasus, roughly 3,000 miles, driven by the consequences of Zeus's original action. Europa was a Phoenician princess. Zeus became a white bull on a beach she frequented, waited for her to climb on, and swam to Crete. Ganymede was a Trojan boy described as the most beautiful human alive. Zeus sent an eagle to take him. The pattern across all 43 cases is identical. Zeus wants, Zeus acts. Zeus experiences no observable consequence. If there is a complication, Hera's jealousy, a rival suitor, a protesting parent, Zeus arranges for the complication to suffer instead. Prometheus gave fire to humans. This needs to be stated flatly before the punishment is described. Giving fire to humans is not a crime against any victim. No human was harmed. No divine property was stolen in the conventional sense. Fire is not scarce. The act benefited every human who would ever live. Zeus chained Prometheus to a cliff in the Caucasus and sent an eagle to eat his liver every day. Because Prometheus was immortal, the liver grew back each night. The eagle returned each morning. This continued, and in most accounts, for 30,000 years before Heracles ended it. The punishment had no stated purpose beyond the demonstration of what happens when someone provides humans with capabilities Zeus had reserved for the divine. Tantalus committed actual crimes. He killed his son and served him at a divine banquet to test whether the gods were truly omniscient. The gods reassembled the sun and restored him. For Tantalus, water up to his chin that recedes when he bends to drink. Fruit on branches above him that rise when he reaches. Eternal proximity to what he needs, with eternal failure to reach it. Sisyphus tricked Thanatos, the god of death, twice. He died of old age, having lived longer than any mortal should. His punishment is the boulder on the slope, eternal ascent, eternal release at the summit, eternal repetition. What these punishments share is not proportionality. What they share is spectacle. Every Olympian, every hero, every educated Greek knew these names and what had happened to them. Zeus's punishments are not corrective. They are architectural. They define the edge of what Zeus permits. The Greeks did not have the word psychopath. What they had was considerably more precise. Hubris, in the original Greek legal and philosophical meaning, is not pride. It is a specific act, the deliberate humiliation or degradation of another person, for the purpose of demonstrating your own power, with no secondary purpose. The humiliation itself is the point. The Greeks had courts for it. A citizen who committed hubris against another citizen could be tried, fined, exiled. Zeus commits hubris, by the precise legal definition, in at least 43 documented cases. The Greeks were aware of this. They wrote it down with the same vocabulary they used to prosecute ordinary mortals for the same conduct. What they did not do was draw the obvious conclusion in the direction of condemnation. What they did instead was preserve the category and exempt Zeus from it, not by pretending his conduct was acceptable, but by making the exemption itself the statement. Power at sufficient scale is not subject to the rules power generates. The category applies to everyone below a threshold. Zeus defines the threshold. The Greek philosophical tradition produced eventually thinkers who found this arrangement worth examining. Plato's Euthyphro asks whether something is holy because the gods will it, or whether the gods will it because it is holy, and does not resolve the question. He was working from the same data set as everyone else. Zeus, omnipotent, omnipresent in every temple and every oath, who by the criteria of the courts he ultimately ran, had committed what the courts called hubris more times than any mortal in recorded history. The Greeks built their civilization under the symbol of a being they had documented with considerable care. What they documented, in language they reserved for predators and criminals and those who required civic correction, was this: Zeus did what he wanted. No one could stop him. He never stopped wanting.